Very good afternoon to all the panels who have joined. My name is Akash, and currently I'm a student from IIT Bombay and pursuing my undergrad from metallurgy department. And at MRC, I'm working as an intern on the topic statistical inference of climate change impact in the Indian Ocean region. So basically, through this topic, I'm trying to study the effect of the climate change in Indian Ocean region. Specifically, what are the parameters like in the ocean which are changing due to the climate change? As we know, due to the anthropogenic emissions over the years, over the century, has led the conditions of the ocean, specifically the warming of the ocean, right? So which has caused some shift in the biological and other perspective. So I've tried to go through that study, and specifically I covered the Indian Ocean region and how the climate change has impacted the situation nearby. And finally I was able to, like, I'm working on it to relate it how it impacted the blue economy, specifically how will people will affected, their livelihood be affected, and how the GDP will be affected. As we know, India has a vast EEZ, which is the exclusive economic zone, from which we derives the resources and all. And currently, right, the blue economy is contributing around 4% to the India's GDP, which is a good amount. So, but the climate change over the years has uh, made the uh, made the situation for us. Specifically thing is there's a rise in the net ocean heat content, which I would like to highlight first. So as we can see, so this is the world map, which shows the net ocean content over the year from 1993 to 2022, and which has like recorded how the ocean heat content has been increased over the years. So if we look at the map carefully, we can have a judgment that if we look in the tropical region, so the net ocean heat content has been more in the tropical region compared to, on an average, compared to the other regions. Of course, this is related to the fact that the tropical region coincide with the equator and it receives the maximum insulations. But apart from that, the main driving force behind the rise in the heat content is also the climate change. So yeah, so like what if we see specifically in the tropical region, in the near the Indian Ocean region, so the we can see a uniform increase in the heat content near the Indian Ocean region. Right. So what this heat content rise has caused is like rising of the sea level and many other factors, such as the destructions in the coral reefs, and in fact the decline in the oxygen levels, which are quite required for the underwater ecosystem for their sustainabilities. And of course the melting of ice is taking place, which might cause problem to the low lying coastal area region people, and in the form of floods and all. So moving to the next slide. So yeah, this is a good comparison compared to other oceans, how the net ocean heat content has been increased. So from the picture, it is clearly seen that the net Indian Ocean heat content has been like increased the most compared to the North Atlantic other oceans. So the this is a bit major concerning thing for the world, because in the 21st century the Indian Ocean region has gained its importance, specifically the strategical importance, and trade wise also. In fact, many western powers are trying to make their presence in the Indian Ocean region. So it is specifically looking, and it should be given as an importance for the world economic development, or the welfare. So moving to the next slide. So as I discussed about the net rise in the ocean heat content, so what exactly it has causing is when the ocean heat content like get increase in particular ocean, the sea surface temperature of that ocean will also increase as a result. And the like if we see quantitative wise, from the last century, the sea surface temperature for the Indian Ocean has rose by 1.2 degree on an approximate scale. But if we look at the figure for the Pacific Oceans and Atlantic Ocean, which is about only zero point 0.6 degree and zero point 0.7 degrees Celsius respectively, which is less compared to the Indian Ocean region. And hence, so if the sea surface temperature has rose that much, so that implies also that it affects the nutrient content which is present in the water. So the nutrient content decreases due to the higher SST, because the SST caused the stratification, which is basically the dividing the, like, it inhibits the upwelling of the nutrient contents and also like forms layer based on the density, right? And uh, in fact, the nutrients are quite essential for the marine productivity in any region. So in case of India, there were studies conducted and it was found that there is a decline in the nutrient content specifically in the coastal region. And if we see that, as we witness that the sea surface temperature is quite quite harmful for the sea. And in fact, in the upcoming century, it has been projected that the sea surface temperature would rise from 1.7 degree to 3.8 degrees Celsius. So yeah. Okay, so the because of the rising sea surface temperature, we have like witnessed the rise in the Indian Ocean Whirlpool region, which is the sea region where the sea surface temperature is greater than the 28 degrees Celsius. And for unfortunately for India, the Indian Ocean Whirlpool region has kind of increasing over the years, and it is going to be 100% in next few years. So the main problem caused by such warming pools is like they influence the climate dynamics and probably impact the ENSO oscillation pattern, and which modulates the atmospheric circulations. And of course, that due to the warming, the sea level rise also take place, and it might cause floods and might hamper the nearby habitat. And yeah, due to the high sea surface temperature, there is a chance of rising marine heat waves, and which we are witnessing over the oceans in the few years also. And the next thing, like, which is happening due to the climate change, is the ocean acidification. So from the map, it is also clear that the acidic like the pH for the Indian Ocean region is quite low compared to the global average, which is also concerning, because the high CO2 concentration will decrease the pH, of course. And there are certain entities or the animals which are in the underwater ecosystem, which required the uh, calcium carbonate for their development and for the survival. So having a less pH will, of course, like decrease the content of that such calcium carbonate ingredients in the ocean. And in fact, the coral bleach is heavily dependent on that calcium carbonate, which is quite declining over the year. Now, if I consider the impact on the blue economy, so some facts I would like to highlight, right? The Indian Ocean region itself caters to the around 33% of the world population, which is around the one third of the world population, being only the 20% of the Earth water. So we can see that already the Indian Ocean region is heavily pressurized in terms of extracting resources and all, and it's catering a huge amount of population. And the nation which are situated there near the oceans are basically having a low GDP per capita, so which also reflect heavily dependence of the people on the regions for on the ocean region for their livelihood also. And as I discussed, right, there's a 4% contribution for the GDP, and around 60 million fisher folk and fish farmers are dependent for their livelihood. And one more fact I would like to highlight: the 95% of the transportation business itself, it's through the waterways. Coming to the next thing, now I have categorized or made a mind map or flow chart, right? The how These are the four major kind of activities from which India derives its blue economy, which includes the fisheries, aquaculture, inland water transportation, offshore gas productions, and coastal tourism. So I have highlighted all the factors which are kind of hampering all these things. We can see, right, there's a fishing and aquaculture are getting hampered by the rise in the ocean heat content, ocean acidification, and nutrient cycle change and all. So yes, there are certain and other factors affecting the other part of that blue economy. So moving ahead, so this figure also shows the relation and a chain link, right? How a small change in particularly has a cascading effect and ultimately affects the whole food web and the food security in the region and decrease in the livelihood. So yeah, so, based on this, first, I would also like to highlight what are the future change or what are the potential economic loss that has been predicted because of the climate change. So, yeah, like from the research studies in India, it has been shown that there would be a decrease in the up to 10 to 30% in the fish catch rates uh, by around 2050 for different climate change scenarios. And yeah, over the years, the climate change fish rate captures has been decreased, and ultimately it results in the loss in the livelihood of the farmers, which are huge in number in India. And also, like the a huge economy is derived from the tourism, of which the coastal tourism plays a good role. And in fact, there's a probability or potential risk of around 150 billion over the years. And in fact, there's chances of coral bleaching in the Indian Ocean region by 2040, and which might have a loss of around 1.1 billion per $1.1 billion per year. So that would be affecting the coastal tourism in the uh, country. And now for the like the solution based approach, what could steps would be taken? So UDA framework based approach is like a good starting point for all of us to mitigate the impact. So basically it's an holistic approach emphasizing a common framework for the dealing with the underwater ecosystems, which also like take considerations of the various stakeholders. Now it also, like, it is important to highlight the unique feature of the tropical waters, like to make any kind of a technology advancement and all. And in fact, there's a need of the continuous surveillance and the digital transformation for the easiness of the data accessibility, and subsequently having a marine spatial planning. So yeah, so during my internship work, I have also worked on the forming a model which can predict how the sea surface temperature is getting uh, uh, propagated inside the depth of the water, and how will it impact the underwater ecosystem. So from which we can later help in the MSP part, which is the marine spatial planning. So which includes the mapping of the resources, security, and the sustainability of the resources, and the quality and availability of the resources present inside the underwater region. So this is a good example of how the transformation will help in kind of accessing the data. And we can see this is for the radiated noise, but we can have the similar for the climate, sea surface temperature and all. So I would like to conclude, and yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you for this.